the exact same background and the exact same hair and makeup. It's almost as if I filmed these on the exact same day and just changed the outfits and make it look like I didn't. Hi guys, welcome back to my safe space. I really hope you enjoyed the introductory video and I hope it's made you a bit excited about what could come of this channel, fingers crossed. So as promised, I have got some answers for the questions that you sent me in yesterday about your queries and conundrums surrounding being in isolation and being in quarantine and being alone with your thoughts, etc. Please stop moving. So I've got the questions here that were sent in, and I'm going to start out with a really nice and positive and uplifting question. It's not really a question, it's more of a topic, but it is things to do to enrich our minds and souls. I really like this question to start off with because I think at the moment we are heavily surrounded by doom and gloom, and a lot of the questions that I am going to answer are what to do worst case scenario. Whereas I think this is really positive and a really nice outlook that we can actually use this time in a lot of ways as a time to heal and a time to enrich our souls, our minds, our bodies, and I think that's actually a really important thing to take away from being in isolation. This might be quite an obvious one, but the first thing I'm going to say is reading. I know reading can be a bit like to a lot of people, especially when you are in college and school, because when you're told, it's like when you're told to do anything you don't want to do it, and because you're told to read a lot in like high school, college, etc., when people tell you to read for fun, you're a bit like, but I honestly think if you get stuck into a book that's either a really good story and you just become that character, you're taken away from the current situation and it's really light relief, or even if it's a non-fiction book, I think reading can be really useful at the moment to educate yourself and learn about something that you've always wanted to learn more about but haven't really had the time because you've been focusing on other things. So I do have some books here for examples. The first two are really similar and they're called The Big Idea. So the book titles are often a question. So for example, this one is capitalism working, and this one is gender fluid by Get One For Free, love a bargain. So I've chosen these two as a non-fiction example because I genuinely believe that books that make you question things as well as make your opinions that you already have more informed are really important for enriching yourself. And these are good examples because they're not light topics, so it is a very good distraction because you will get heavily engrossed in these books from my point of view, but also you will learn something from it at the same time, so it's kind of a win-win. Similarly to that, I have this other book which I just tell everyone to read because it's just the best thing ever, and it's called Period Power by Maisie Hill. It's another non-fiction book and it's described as bloody brilliant. Love a pun. It says on the blurb that Period Power is the handbook to periods and hormones, and it will leave you wondering why no one told you to read it sooner. And I would just say that is so true. For women, I think it's amazing because, as it says on the front, it does harness your hormones and help you get your cycle working for you, because once you have more knowledge about your body and your menstrual cycle, etc., you just feel so much more in control, even if it's psychological. I know I've noticed such a big improvement with how I feel coming up to my menstrual cycle, recognising its patterns and harnessing my hormones, as it said. So I think it's particularly good for women in that sense, but also if you're a boy and you're thinking, should I read this book, read it, because you need to know about periods as well. Yeah, those are some examples of non-fiction books, and obviously fiction books speak for themselves. It's so good to get engrossed in a story and to forget about everything else that's going on in the real world, because the real world is a lot scarier than the fiction sometimes. Other ways to enrich your life is learning a new language or a new instrument, and I know that is a lot easier for some people than it is for others, but there are free apps that are so good, like Duolingo, Quizlet, some really good apps to help you learn languages, even if it's just the basics. It's such a good time at the moment to enrich your life in that sense, because it's good for education, it's good for personal life if we get to travel again, hopefully soon in the future, and I just find learning languages to be therapeutic and so rewarding, so I definitely recommend that. And same with an instrument. I know not everybody has access to instruments at home, but if you do, getting it up on YouTube, you can almost teach yourself in some cases, and I do think what better time. I've made a little isolation plan. I've seen these floating around on Twitter, like some funny ones and some joke ones and stuff, but I've made like a serious plan of what I aim to do each day, and I'm not gonna be mad at myself if it doesn't happen, but just to try and keep my mental health and my anxiety at bay during this time of isolation. Also, how cute is this? Sorry if the lighting changes a bit because it's golden hour. But yeah, I've made a weekly isolation plan, as I've called it. So for example, on Monday I've said to set my alarm at 8 o'clock because I don't want to get into a really bad sleeping what's it called? Sleeping pattern. Don't want to get into a really bad sleeping pattern because I think the more tired you are and the more at risk of getting really stuck in your emotions you are. So I want to wake up at 8 o'clock, but probably more realistically I'll sleep for a little bit longer. So I've given myself a leeway of 20 minutes. And my first thing to do is really simple, just meditate. Because I think if you meditate at the beginning of your day ahead of everything else, you'll be more calm and balanced and prepared for the rest of the day. I'm not going to go through my whole plan just for time because I've already rambled so much. But just little examples are go for a run, FaceTime friends. I studied French and Spanish before the schools got closed, and one of my friends studies German, so we've made a plan to FaceTime 3 times a week for an hour each time, so I can go over basic French and Spanish with her and she can go over basic German with me. Plan out things that I want to do that day. So for example, if I do get into filming videos, I'll plan out what videos I want to film and what I need to film them with. And then I've given myself recreation time, which for me, I'm not going to lie, is probably binge watching either Inside Number 9 or clips of funniest moments of this morning because it's just class. And then I'm currently writing a book which summarises basically everything I'll be saying on this channel so that it's in written form. I've been working on the book since about March, but obviously it had to take a back burner. Is that the word? Had to be put on the back burner. Can't think of the right phrase for the life of me, but it did have to be put aside for a moment just whilst I was revising because obviously I thought I was going to have my A-levels. But yeah, I will be working on my book, so I've set scheduled time for that. And then I am really lucky to have a family that I get on with, so I have scheduled to have some family time. We've been out and bought a dartboard and a couple of bits to keep us entertained during that time. And then from 7:30 till 9 I want to wind down in my room, so that I'll probably just be watching YouTube videos or series or drawing, stuff like that, whatever makes you feel most at peace. So going back to the questions, the next one is probably the most common one that I got, which is how to cope with anxiety related to being inside alone with your thoughts. So obviously it's undeniably scary at the moment because especially if you are prone to depression, anxiety or any kind of mental health illness, it is a scary time because as we all get told often, it's not good to isolate yourself and it's not good to let things bottle up. I would say my biggest piece of advice regarding that worry is just to remind yourself that you are in control of your thoughts. Now, I'm not belittling the fact that that is such a hard thing to remind yourself of, because if it was easy, we'd have a lot less problems. But I do know from experience that it is something you can train yourself to do. So I will go over a couple of things which I found most useful in reminding myself that I'm in control of my own thought. Firstly, when you do get a thought that's dark or worrying, I think it's really good to acknowledge its presence, because the thing about emotions is that they will demand to be felt. So acknowledge its presence and literally say to yourself, I can hear you, I can hear the negative thoughts, but I'm not going to listen at the moment. This is something I found particularly hard at first, because if you are strong-minded and strong-willed, the anxious thought will try and persist and it will keep coming back no matter how much you tell it that you're not listening. But one thing that did help me get over that and make that process a little bit easier for me was by setting worry time. Now, worry time is something I learned from CBT, which is basically where throughout the day, keep a pen and paper handy, and whenever you do have a persistent anxious thought or something that is making you feel down, just write it down, scribble it down, and don't look at it. And then designate a 15-minute period at any time of the day which you think is going to be most beneficial to you. Then and only then, sit down and go through what you've written down and try and think of a flip side to each down thought or a resolution for each cause to anxiety. Now, I found this a particularly useful practice in trying to remind myself that I am in control of my thoughts, because Firstly, you do go through them at some point in the day, so it stops you from bottling it up, and it makes sure that you do deal with everything that is bugging you, which is so important. But by you choosing the time that you want to access those thoughts, and you choosing the time that you're going to deal with them, it reminds you that you're in control, and it reminds you that you're the boss, you're the manager, and you have the power to turn the negative thoughts away. For me, it also helped differentiate between hypothetical and tangible worries, because once you have everything listed down, it's easier for you to go through at the end of the day when your mind is away from where it was, and look at the list and think, what can I actually do about these things? And if there's nothing you can do, then it's not a worry, it's worth having. Another common question was how to live in the present and not worry about the future. I understand that this is particularly hard at the moment because we are waiting for daily updates and everything is a day-to-day thing. But for me, the best way around this was to acknowledge all the senses that you can in every moment that you can, and not take any action for granted. So for example, even when brushing your teeth or when taking a shower, acknowledge all your senses. I found this particularly useful, so I would get in the shower at night and I would acknowledge the feel of the water on my skin. I would acknowledge its temperature, its texture. I would acknowledge the smell of the soap I was using, the feeling of my skin, the feeling of my hair when I was washing it, the smell, the feeling of the lather and of the soap, everything. Don't think about anything else in the shower other than washing your body. Don't think about anything else when brushing your teeth other than brushing your teeth, because it is so easy when you're doing these things that are basic hygiene to want to do 1,000,001 other things at the same time. But you don't have to. We have enough time, particularly at the moment, to take each action in each moment for what it is and to enjoy it for what it is. And for me, this was particularly useful in grounding me and reminding myself that I am living in the present moment and not thinking about the future. Another slightly more obvious way around this is meditation. Now for me, there was one particular meditation that I found really useful for grounding me and reminding me that I was living in the current moment. And that was on a website called freemindfulness.org, which you can access on pretty much any device, I think. And it was a 15-minute body scan by a lovely woman called Vidya Mala Birch. I find Vidya Mala Birch very inspirational, aside from any of the mindfulness, because she has a really empowering and inspirational story. She's definitely worth looking up, and I will leave her name in the description because it's quite hard to spell. But if you can find that on freemindfulness.org, it really takes you through each part of your body and just grounds you and reminds you that you are here right now and you don't have to be anywhere else. I also believe that meditation practices are very useful for dealing with another common thing which I got asked, which was how to deal if your family argue or if you have parents that don't get along, etc. I'm really blessed and don't take it for granted at all that my family unit is strong and we do all get along. But I do know for a fact that that is not the same for everyone. Firstly, I'd just like to say I really am thinking of everyone who's in that situation at this point. I know it's a lot harder for people who don't have a stable family unit or find it hard to be around their family for long periods of time at the moment. But I do believe that meditation would be a good way to remove yourself from whatever disagreements or arguments may be going on as much as is possible. There are a lot of apps and websites you can access for free, such as Calm, freemindfulness.org, and plenty of others which I will link below. So if you have earphones or a little speaker or anything, sit in your room, surround yourself with things that you like, and just be away from everything. Try to, if you can, drown out any arguments or anything like that that may be affecting your mental health. I know our ability to do this may change day by day depending on the government's recommendations, but I would recommend going on a walk if any tensions are arising in the household. I think being outside, being in the nature is really good for the soul for anyone, but particularly if you feel bad energies and negative energies within the household, they are often taken away as soon as you step outside and you feel the fresh air. Do a meditation perhaps whilst you're walking, or if you go out for a walk and take a seat on a bench anywhere and do a meditation, I think that would be really good for removing yourself from the situation, rebalancing your energies, and reminding yourself that this is all going to be okay and there are people who love and care for you, even if you can't see them right now, and even if it doesn't feel like you're surrounded by them at the moment. They are there. Remind yourself of it. In contrast to some of those points, another thing I was commonly asked was how to not isolate yourself too much and lose contact with friends. Now this is something that I think is important to me, because I think when I'm given my own space I do enjoy it, and I do enjoy being in my own company. So it's difficult to remind yourself to keep in contact with friends, especially when you are close to your family. My way around this is setting times in your weekly or daily plans to give yourself a slot in which to call, text, whatever your preferred method of contact is. Get in touch with your friends, make sure they're okay, check up on them, particularly if you know they're vulnerable. So for example, I've written here 9 a.m. till 10 a.m, a slot for FaceTime with my friends. I enjoy FaceTime, some people prefer to text, whatever floats your boat, even if it's just on social media, even if you just Snapchat your friends, it's always good to make sure they're all doing okay and for them to make sure you're doing okay. I think I've answered the majority of the questions there and covered majority of topics that people wanted me to. So hopefully I've helped somebody out with this video. That really is my main aim. And please let me know if I have, please let me know if there's any way I could improve, and genuinely thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I really do hope this channel will become a safe space for people to discuss how they're feeling, to keep each other happy, and just for a bit of light-hearted entertainment amidst all this negativity. I just want to remind you that I know this time is tough, but everyone will be okay, and at one point this is going to be a memory. We can all get through this as a little community, and that's what I'm hoping to build here on this channel. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in a new video shortly. Bye!